let's talk about the Season of Discovery news. I see people are talking about this. I have heard about the SOD enchanting item exploit, and I know that Blizzard is actually working on it. Blizzard, I think they're going to be fixing that any day. I got a confirmation back from Blizzard saying, hey, yeah, we know about it. We're going to fix that. And so honestly, hey, this is what I would do. We're going to be raiding guys in 2.5 hours. God, I need to log in. I need to do my Boomkin raid. Do I even have time to do my Boomkin raid? Oh, man. Because I'm doing my Warlock raid in 2.5 hours. Maybe I don't. Fuck. Anyway, listen. I think that no one in our raid should do that tonight because I'm sure they're going to fix it. And any Warcraft log that has that will be purged. So I would say, hey, listen, let's not even use it. Let's tell people don't use it, okay? What's the exploit? You know, it's the 20 spell power enchanting item. If you're an enchanter in SOD, you get the sigil of whatever it's called and you pop it. It's on a 30-minute cooldown and it gives you plus 20 spell power. Guess what? You can pop it, log out for 30 minutes, log back in, pop another one, log out, log back in, do it over and over and over again. You can have 10 of them, 50. You could have 100 of them. You can do it infinitely. There's no buff cap. You could have as many times as you want, and you could have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 bonus spell power, 120, 140. Okay, plus 20, as many times as you want. Okay, so I know for a fact, I got a confirmation. I know that Blizzard is aware of that, so I'm telling you, probably don't do it. Your log is probably over. I wouldn't even fuck with it. But with all of that being said, I want to take a look at the new Season of Discovery Phase 3. There's some leaks. There's some news. There's some data mine stuff, a video that came up from the Comeback Kids yesterday. I want to watch this with you guys. Let's go.
Up to $100 that include an epic seeing you all in the land of Tyria.
Raid Shadow Legends. Let's go.
So right now in Season of Discovery, we're in that awkward stage where we're dead smack in the middle of Phase 2 and the release of Phase 3, which has...
You can kind of tell with Phase 2 SOD, are people a little bit bored? Are people... Is the interest in SOD Phase 2 wavering a little bit? Yeah, I think so.
Thinking... News for Phase 3 has to be coming very soon. Already, users actually put this into perfect perspective based on Phase 1 over on Reddit. I mean, we got Phase 2's date announcement 39 days into Phase 1, and they expected that we could receive the Phase 3 release date sometime the next week.
Dude, that's 3 days from now. Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Now, with Season of Discovery Phase 2 right now officially being out for a total of 35 days as of today, if this said trend continues, we could be receiving news during next week's reset on the 18th or 19th of so, which can be very good in building up hype and life for Season of Discovery's next phase. Of course, I don't think the game is dying or anything like that, because no matter where I go, I swear all the time, there's countless amount of players around me. It's just always important to be in the present moment and understand where your game stands at the moment. And right now, this is the slowest time Season of Discovery is going to be until we're dead smack in the middle of Phase 3, and then we're in the same exact situation for Phase 4. Additionally,
But think about it, man. We have all of this cool Cataclysm content to get excited for. Classic Cataclysm. Let's go!
I think that Phase 1 dragged on just a couple weeks too long due to, like, the holidays and the end of the year issues that pretty much everybody has. So I would expect Phase 2 to be even a bit shorter than Phase 1 in terms of total duration. Nevertheless, though, this is nothing but good news, which means that big updates from the developers could very well be coming next week, which pretty much all of us are dying to get our hands on. Additionally, Season of Discovery just received some hot fixes on March 12th with some absolutely huge clash changes. Well, actually, not really. Starting things off with the worst DPS spec in the entire game being the ranged marksmanship hunter, their steady shot rune actually got buffed from 60%, increasing to 75%.
Wow, that's huge. That's going to change everything. That's not going to change a whole lot.
And that's about it. Now, of course, we all know marksmanship has been performing really bad this phase, and it's starting to become kind of a meme at this point. I mean, of course, the developers are aware of the situation because week in and week out, they just...
I think the Classic WoW dev team hates the Second Amendment, and they don't want us using guns in-game.
Keep on making changes to the class, whether it be, you know, buffs to explosive shot, buffs to lone wolf, buffs to chimera shot, and now even steady shot. It means they have their eye on this class spec, and they're trying to slowly bring it into balance.
Can I be honest, man? How in the hell are we 9 or 10 lockouts, raid lockouts, into SOD Phase 2, and ranged hunters are this bad? Still, after 10 lockouts, how much data do we need? What do we need? What do they need to see for them to say, you know what, yeah, they're not so great. We got to do something. We're 10 lockouts in. Huh?
Balance with some of the other classes. My only problem is they are taking a really long time to sort of make this thing happen. I can see from the logs from this week, Hunter's maximum damage they're dealing in terms of marksmanship is roughly about 400 DPS from the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Comparing that to some of the other classes, they're easily over 100 DPS behind, and there's literally nothing they can do about it because they simply just don't put out enough damage. My only thoughts are that if you know a class is dead last in terms of raw damage and they are the only class left in the game that is meant to be pure DPS, why not throw out there a bunch of buffs to runes and abilities rather than just buffing Steady Shot, which...
Hey, I'm with you. I think that's not a half bad idea.
People don't even really use. Hopefully this is something the developers keep tuning, because marksmanship is the worst DPS spec of all the classes in the game right now other than Frost Mage, so I'm hoping things pick up. Additionally, it seems that the King of the Mountain, the Mage, is actually seeing some nerfs as well. Living Flame is now having its duration of being active reduced by 10 seconds, and the cooldown being reduced by 30 seconds
kind of a weird nerf,
as well.
though.
And this may not seem like a lot to players who do not play Mage, but if you're a user of this class, you know how massive this change actually is. On average, it takes about 4 to 5 seconds for Living Flame to reach its target, and not only that, the movement speed of the spell has been reduced to 86% compared to the normal 100% movement speed it had previously. Now, don't get me wrong though, I think Living Flame was by far the strongest choice here for every single mage spec. I just personally would have loved for them to buff some of the other spells in the same category maybe, like maybe buff Icy Veins for when you activate it, you deal 20% more frost damage for the duration. Or maybe for Arcane Surge, make it actually usable inside of PvE, increasing the mana regeneration you gain by a lot more. So it almost works as like a form of evocation in a way. Once again, I do think Living Flame needed to get adjusted a bit because it was by far the strongest. I just would have liked some other changes to be implemented to sort of supplement this change to make some of the other runes better as well. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm gonna be hype. I'm gonna be a classic WoW Karen. I'm a classic Karen here for a second. The class changes and the regularity that we got class changes in classic WoW SOD Phase 1 way better. It was way better in Phase 1 than Phase 2. Phase 2, I don't know if these guys are busy doing something else or if they're all taking vacation time. I don't know what's going on, but we are not really getting a whole lot in regards to class changes, and also when we do get class changes, I feel like they are also inadequate class changes. It's not enough. Okay, maybe they're busy working on classic Cataclysm, something, I don't know. Phase 1, I feel like they were way more on the ball. Phase 2, it's a little bit like, hey, what's going on here? Are you guys even showing up to the office or what?
there might be something very, very big coming for Season of Discovery, and something that we on this channel have been talking about for a very long time.
What's
With
that?
thousands of votes, community comments, and in-game opinions being strongly suggested that the lack of raw gameplay content between raid days is a little bit of a problem inside of...
Yeah, listen, guys, I was saying this 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago. I said, listen, guys, I'm worried there's not enough content in Phase 2. You log in, you do your raid every 3 days, and you do the STV PvP event, and there's kind of nothing beyond that. And you know what people said? They said, I've been saying this 3 weeks. They said, stay safe. You're a streamer. You play all day. That's not a problem for real players. This is a streamer problem. I said, okay, listen, hey, you wait 2 weeks. Come back in 3 weeks, okay? Right now, I'm where you're going to be 3 weeks from now. So 3 weeks from now, check in with me, and you're going to be bored. And guess what? You know what? Now the entire scene, now everyone's agreeing, yeah, you know what? There's not a whole lot to do. True.
Season of Discovery.
It's true.
For example, the second me and my guild are finished...
Also, I need to say something here. This idea, okay, because when I bring up concerns like this, maybe a little bit lack of content in SOD sometimes, people say, oh, well, if you have nothing to do, you know what? You know what? You need to make a new alt. Guess what? I raid 4 days a week. I play 2 characters. I don't want to play a third character. I don't want to play a fourth, a fifth, a sixth character, okay? I don't want all the content I have to just be doing the same content over and over again on 3, 4, 5 characters a week. That's not my idea. That's not how I want to do it, okay? So, yeah, I think it's totally fair to say I wish there was a little bit more. I wish there was a little bit more to do on 1 character or 2 characters. I don't want to play 5 characters.
Running Nomergon, most of them literally just log off right then and there, and I do not see them again until the very next lockout, which feels really bad when you're just trying to play World of Warcraft with your friends or community. A very interesting post over on Reddit showed a survey that went out to a player that states the following, and listen up because it's actually very important. It states that please rate how important each of the following features is to you in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. Titan Rune or Heroic plus Dungeons. Now, to quickly break down a couple things, Titan Runes were implemented inside of Wrath of the Lich King Classic, which pretty much equates out to like a mythic type of dungeon, which then has their affixes added to it, depending on the type of dungeon that you enter. For example, if you're fighting Nerubians, you have a chance to get webbed, or if you're in Utgard Keep, you have a chance of getting an ice trail on you that damages nearby allies and slows them. Some things like...
Here's my thing about Heroic plus Dungeons and Classic SOD. Sure, you could do them. It'd be something to do, but... no one's going to, listen, no one is going to do this content, Heroic plus, Dungeon plus content, unless their rewards make sense. People need to feel rewarded for doing it. So, okay, my concern is less, can they, should they do it? My primary concern is, why do I care about doing it? Do I get badges? Do I get some resource? Do I get gear? What's the deal? Does the gear contribute to gearflation, where people are power spiking out of control? Does it shake up the meta? What do you get for doing it? And the answer to that question could be really good, or it could be really bad. Why do people care about it? Okay, you put it in the game. We have Heroic plus Dungeons. What do I get? Why do I care about it?
That all those little things that add to the gameplay flavor to a dungeon experience, those are embedded inside of those Titan Rune dungeons. Additionally, they also stated Heroic plus Dungeons, which I'm not really sure if it's a typo or maybe something different that I haven't seen before. I'm not really sure. Now, you have to understand, though, how big these surveys are, because if you all are aware or paying attention in the community, they've done this for pretty much every single bit of content they've released over the last 5 years. I mean, they did it with Vanilla WoW back in 2019 being re-released. They did it with the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and they actually just recently put it out for Cataclysm back in 2023. Now, not only did they do that for that, they also did it for the hardcore realms. And
dude, they sent a survey like this out asking about Cataclysm just like 3 months after Wrath released. This is like over a year ago, right? They get this information early.
Some features being implemented. So usually when they put out these surveys, it tends to lead to those said things actually being integrated inside of World of Warcraft. And if they continue to follow this trend, this could very well lead to Heroic or even a Mythic plus Affix type system being in Season of Discovery. Now, I know a lot of those hardcore classic players out there are freaking out, and it feels like the world is on fire because they don't want that many changes, but you have to understand Mythic Plus, or this Heroics type system, has been the most popular game mode inside of World of Warcraft for many, many years now.
In retail WoW, that is true. What is retail WoW is Mythic Plus. I think there's probably more people doing Mythic Plus than doing raids. I think more people do Mythic Plus in retail WoW than they are raiding. I think that's true. It's huge. That is the scene. That's the retail WoW scene.
And it's for a very good reason. Now, I don't think Mythic Plus needs to be implemented inside of Season of Discovery, but what I'm trying to say is that if I can live in a world where Season of Discovery has replayable dungeon content that's challenging, it's fun, that brings you great rewards and allows you to play with a 5-man group of your friends that is really easy to get into, I'm gonna be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, that's a world I would absolutely love to be in. It would also be amazing if they can somehow tie it to some lore with Xal'atath's void corruption, starting to spread across Azeroth. Maybe they can even do something where a set of 5 random dungeons, no matter the level, every week gets corrupted, so it's not the same ones over and over again. For example, what if Xal'atath corrupts Dead Mines or Wailing Caverns, and when you go in there, you have the opportunity to get loot from those dungeons that could scale up to your level, and you could be using, those really cool items like Smite's Hammer or the Defias gear set at level 50. I mean, all these dungeons...
I kind of don't like this, because what if your specific Xal'atath-infused best-in-slot item is from Dead Mines and only Dead Mines? But what if you go 3 weeks without having Dead Mines be involved? If it's on like a weekly rotation, it's like, okay, man, I want to go into Xal'atath Dead Mines and get my best-in-slot item, but it's not Xal'atath Dead Mines week. And so I got to wait for the next week. Guess what? It's still not Xal'atath Dead Mines week. Okay, I'm going to wait for another week. Okay, man, maybe it's still not Xal'atath. And so this weekly rotation dungeon loot thing, I think actually never really goes well. I think it ends up just being more frustrating than anything else.
inside of classic World of Warcraft are so nostalgic and feel so much fun to run. It would be amazing if they reuse this already created content to constantly keep it relevant throughout the phases. Not only that though, what if every boss when they are slain, they drop corrupted badges that you can then use at a vendor to buy rewards, crafting recipes, cosmetics, like, you know, mounts or tabards. I mean, honestly, the sky is the limit with heroic type.
This, I think having some type of dungeon badge system for SOD would be a good idea. I actually think they should. And I think hear me out. I think the only thing you should be able to buy with dungeon badges in SOD is gear or items that actually doesn't impact your player performance, right? So like having a best in slot piece be purchased from the dungeon gear vendor, I think actually is not a good idea. I think it should be like player power, non-impactful purchases. One example of this would be being able to unlock maybe a third profession slot. So if you get 500 dungeon tokens from killing 500 bosses, maybe you can unlock a third primary profession slot. So now you could have mining, engineering, and tailoring if you wanted. And that doesn't really impact your player power, but it's more of like a convenience thing, maybe an economic bonus slightly. I think doing something like that would be help. Or maybe that's how you unlock dual spec. You get 500 dungeon tokens and you unlock dual spec that way. Something like that. I think that would give people a reason to go back and do dungeons that otherwise they really don't care a whole lot about, right?
Dungeon content being implemented inside, and I think this can very well bring countless players back to playing the game every single day. Now, I'm not sure if you all remember how hard the heroic dungeons were inside of Burning Crusade. I don't care how geared up you were, going inside a heroic blood furnace as a group of 5, it was actually just terrifying. I mean, the mobs in there would straight up just one-shot a tank if they didn't have the defensives activated and, you know, locked and loaded and ready. And it felt like every class you would bring in there had their own role and, you know, gimmick to bring. You know, you could bring a rogue to sap and constantly stun lock enemies that you're trying to focus down. You could bring in a mage to use Blizzard and control the whole battlefield. The warlock to just pretty much spam Seed of Corruption and mow down groups of mobs. And, you know,
I'll say the very best part about classic TBC is the first like 3, maybe 4 weeks when you're doing your heroic dungeon pre-farming, when you're farming your pre-raid bis. That's the best part about TBC, the first month.
Oh, in Season of Discovery, I feel like every class can have their own role when it comes to fighting really difficult mobs in a heroic dungeon environment with all these runes and stuff being implemented. I mean, I would love to test out new builds and theory craft and try to come up with some really awesome heroic dungeon builds, and I think it's amazing, endless content that could be played by players on end. There's a lot of people out there that still think Burning Crusade Heroic Dungeons was some of the best content we've ever had, simply because of how difficult it was and how easy it was to get in a group of...
Listen, I do have to say, I agree. I think early TBC Heroic Dungeons were actually really good, like I just said a moment ago, but also using this person as a reference, this is a random Reddit post that has no upvotes. Some people say, yeah, I mean, you can find someone to say something on Reddit. Like, it doesn't matter.
Of 5 with just your friends or some guildies. Not only that, though, we already know dual spec is supposed to be coming either next phase or, you know, maybe even at level 60. So giving you the flexibility as a player to change your talents on the fly, as well as your runes, can really give you the flexibility to play any role type you'd like and make it really easy to get into groups if you don't have friends or guildmates to play with. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about potentially lore-based content with Xalatat's corruption that gives us a convenient and linear way to get gear with a small team.
I gotta say, I just don't care about Season of Discovery lore, Xalatoth. It's gotta make sense. The lore has... It's gotta make... I just don't care. I don't care about SOD lore at all. I don't care about that.
5 in content that's challenging,
do you guys?
creative, innovative, and fun. I mean, I couldn't be happier with something like this coming to Season of Discovery, and I think this is very, very good news. The only question is, when is it actually going to be implemented? Is it going to be implemented at level 50, 60? I don't know. Please let me know what you all think about it in the comment section below, because the developers need to see it, and I'm sure they're very interested in viewing your all's opinion down in the description below, so please leave a comment in the description. Additionally, inside of Phase 2, it seems that we got a little bit more lore that honestly went over my head. Now, as a Shaman player, I didn't get to experience this myself, But that
Okay.
night elf that you have to slay to acquire one of your runes blatantly wants Kalimdor to be saved for the Kaldurai. Now, when the night elves first joined the Alliance, it was after many, many years of reluctance and being apart from other races and things like that. I mean, they didn't trust anybody. They just wanted to live forever with the World Tree and be left alone. They didn't want anything to do with anybody. After they finally joined forces to form the Alliance, not all the night elves accepted the decision to ally with other races. Inside of Season of Discovery,
So she's racist. So this is a racist night elf who doesn't want to work with dwarves or gnomes or humans. She just wants, she says Kalimdor is for the Kaldurai. And if you're not a Kaldurai, you got to get the hell off of Kalimdor. You are not allowed. Get out. Kaldurai, Kalimdor is full. You need to leave.
they actually add on to this by showing the rebellion led by Ilari Duskfeather trying to keep Kalimdor for the Kaldurai. The quest chain starts with finding a campsite in Desolus where you find Alliance members slain brutally, to where you just pretty much assume that Horde members are up to it and, you know, you don't really think too much of it. But then through more investigation, you actually learn that it was this night elf named Ilari, where she believes that humans and dwarves are just as destructive as any Horde race out there, which, by the way, isn't exactly wrong in believing something like
She's true. That's right. Ilari Duskfeather. Yo, Ilari Based Feather. True. She's right.
that. She also even states something along the lines of predicting that forming an alliance with the other races will eventually lead to the burning of Teldrassil.
Well, was she wrong? Because guess what? That happened.
Which actually ended up happening inside of Retail World of Warcraft, which honestly is quite bone-chilling if you think about it.
So pretty much the story the classic dev team has put together for Ilari Duskfeather is, listen, this night elf, first off, she's racist. Second off, here's why she's right. That's the lore. Okay.
Eventually, you get on that rowboat and go over to her hideout and confront her. And then she goes on and states things such as the dwarves plunder the earth for everything they can see, the humans' appetite for expansion and growth is never ending, and that orcs are monsters and corrupted with bloodlust. All just talking a bunch of garbage about every single race out there. You then attempt to slay her, and after the battle's over, she actually vanishes and escapes, but then leaves behind her key for you then to access a brand new room, which could actually then mean that the Night Elf Renegade could very well be still alive. So
yo, honestly, this makes me want to reroll Night Elf just so I can be cool with Ilari. Like, I like Ilari. I want to be chill with her. But the problem is, right now I play an Orc and I play a Tauren. Man, I got to reroll Night Elf.
Somewhere out in Azeroth. Now, nevertheless, though, I love these little lore bits inside of Season of Discovery that they add, and I'm really hoping in the future they continue to add things like this, because it adds so much depth to the season, and that's really, really enjoyable after you ponder on it for a moment. I especially love the connection between Retail and Classic WoW as well that they did with the burning of Teldrassil. I thought that was interesting to see also. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, it seems that we're at our community section part of the video where we...
Okay, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. This was a good video. Man, the big takeaway here for me, okay, kind of cool lore. I really hope probably next week. Fingers crossed, chat. Yes or no, real fast, before we wrap up the video reaction. Yes or no, are we going to hear about Phase 3 next week? The week of the 18th. Yes or no? I'm looking at the chat right above me, and most people are saying no. A couple people are saying yes. Do you guys think that the ongoing development of Classic Kata is actually slowing down Season of Discovery? There's only so much time in the day, and they've only got so many people working on the Classic WoW stuff. I think, like, invariably it has to be, right? No, guys, of course it is. It's so obvious. Like, I shouldn't even have asked the question. I should have just told you. Yeah, every second that the Classic team spends working on Kata is a second that they are not spending working on SOD. It's a sum zero game. It's a sum zero amount of time in the day, right? And they have, I don't know how many people on the team. It is what it is. Okay, so that being said, I really hope that Phase 2 does not go on for too much longer, like maybe 3 weeks at most. SOD Phase 2 is in a rough spot. Okay, so I hope that they kind of, let's get the show on the road, announce Phase 3, tell us what it's going to be about. Okay, let us get excited. And, you guys understand, just by nature of announcing Phase 3, I think that actually brings back a lot of hype to the game. Because people say, okay, now I have a reason to prep. Now my content is not waiting for Phase 3. Now my content is like prepping for Phase 3, right? Because now people know about it. Maybe they've got a date on the calendar. I only have 17 days to prep. I gotta prep. I gotta get my alt ready. I gotta get this ready and that ready and this and that. Okay, that's actually a form of content. Preparation is content. Okay. So there's that great video. I'm going to like that video, subscribe. I'm going to link it in the chat. Great video. Thank you very much.